The bottom, didn't weld any of that. He welded the two top rows solid completely and never touched any of that, never touched any of the bottom.
What do you do when your dream life suddenly vanishes? Not in scandal, not in silence, but in slow motion, right in front of millions of fans? One day, you're filming a hit TV show. The next, you're alone in a quiet garage, wondering if it all meant anything. This isn't just another story about a show getting canceled. It's about two people who built something out of nothing, only to lose it all, and then find a way to rise again. There's something missing at the very start, and no, it's not a car part. That subtle gap teases everything that's about to come, and you'll want to stick around to uncover what happened behind the grease and glamour. Bad Chad Customs wasn't just a hit show, it was a pulse, a heartbeat across automotive fans worldwide, driven by a Nova Scotia craftsman whose vision exploded beyond his hometown. You'll sense that electricity in the air right from the first few seconds before the curtain lifts. What began as a humble mechanic shop on Highway 358 north of Canning, Nova Scotia, soon became ground zero for one of TV's most daring automotive experiments. Chad Hiltz, the man viewers called Bad Chad, would roll up with a rusted Hulk and, in a few weeks, roll out a head-turning machine that lived and breathed personality. But something dark lurked behind the scenes. Something that didn't just halt the show. It fractured a tight-knit community, leaving fans reeling. Chad's journey started long before cameras ever arrived. He was the kid who scavenged old parts from barns, who refused to let a budget limit his imagination. A 2018 feature by Motor Trend even likened his shop to part MacGyver, part Willy Wonka. Any tool, any junk, any scrap became potential magic. That resourcefulness became the show's lifeblood. Each episode unfolded like a gritty documentary. Fist dibs in grease, metal shaving showers, sparks flying, raw, relentless, and always real. When Discovery greenlit Bad Chad Customs in late 2018, interest ignited almost immediately. The network saw something rare: authentic craftsmanship paired with a personality that didn't feel polished or rehearsed. Chad's chemistry with his fiancée and shop partner, Jolene McIntyre, threaded through the episodes like emotional fuel. There was no smoke and mirrors, just teamwork, shared sweat, and the odd spark of friendship that kept viewers leaning in. Right away, fans connected to more than shiny finishes. They connected to a story. One early build captured by the cameras showed a brilliantly restored '69 Camaro. But it wasn't the final reveal that captivated. What hooked audiences was watching Chad painstakingly shave panels, troubleshoot stubborn welds, and then wipe his brow as the engine roared to life. It was exactly the kind of cliffhanger that makes you binge a whole season in a single weekend. Then came the rusty pickup found rotting in a barn, a gem with hidden heart. This wasn't a flash job, it was a resurrection. And it showcased something deeper. Chad and Jolene's love for salvaging stories, not just steel. Their gentle restoration fused old-world character with functional upgrades, preserving bruised fenders and barn-earned dents as badges of history. Emotional stakes shot through every wrench turn. But underneath the camaraderie, things were shifting. Rumors began to swirl. Some say there were creative clashes with Discovery. Others hint at Chad facing personal battles. A recent TikTok post suggested a dispute behind closed doors might have triggered a shutdown. A community post by a longtime fan echoed that feeling. No fake drama, just raw builds and real people. That's why we loved Chad. That rawness was the charm, and maybe what made the fallout so sharp. Mid-season, the team broke out something special: a '55 Chevrolet Bel Air. The episode balanced nostalgia and innovation. Chromed trim revived, paint glistening like a memory shot, but the engine era modern. Here the rhythm shifted. The emotion escalated. You felt Jolene's concentration alongside Chad's signature grin. Proof that custom car building was more than mechanics. It was shared purpose. Then came the showstopper. A '72 Pontiac Firebird, aggressive, raw. The shop didn't just restore, it reimagined. Upgraded suspension, custom interior, subtle enhancements that made every shot of that Firebird feel cinematic. You almost expected engine rumble to shake your screen, and all of it felt real, not scripted. The builds culminated in a reimagined '63 Ford Galaxy, a full-size cruiser reborn. This was a statement piece. Sleek paint, polished chrome, modern mechanics, all executed in a small-town shop. It was the moment the world saw what this team could do when every tool, layer, and detail came together in harmony. But through all the hammers, welders, and camera flashes, a tension was growing. Some viewers noticed Chad's energy shifting, tired eyes behind the grease. Others speculated Jolene's role was expanding, subtly changing the shop's dynamic. Then whispers surfaced of behind-the-lens disagreements, and fans who'd followed since the beginning began sensing a shift in tone. Despite all that, the community grew even stronger. In Spain, analytics show Bad Chad Customs was nearly one-third as popular as the average hit series. No small feat for a niche show from rural Canada. It wasn't just about horsepower, it was about heart. Still, the final episodes of the season built towards something you didn't see coming. The shop's momentum was undeniable. The project's bigger, the stakes higher, but behind the gears, something cracked. Furtive conversations, unexplained absences, and a hint of tension in the shop's energy began to surface. The show's trailers teased upcoming drama, but clips stopped abruptly. And then, nothing. As the season wrapped, Bad Chad Customs had already become more than a show. It was a brand, a movement. Online shops, merch, social media buzz. It was everywhere. But at just the moment, it looked like Chad and Jolene were ready to roll into bigger opportunities. The signals faltered. No announcements, no next season confirmation. Just silence that left fans hanging in mid-build, mid-story. There was an energy in the shop that summer. Enthusiasm buzzing like electricity just before a storm. Builds were underway, anticipation high, and momentum palpable. But beneath that buzz, an unseen tension was slipping into the frames. You've seen the craftsmanship, the camaraderie, the community around Bad Chad Customs, but what started as a wave of excitement began to feel like riding a roller coaster with no brakes. And that's where part 2 unspools. Chad and Jolene's shop had become more than a workplace. It was a stage for emotion, humor, and raw, unpredictable moments. There were times when a bolt refused to move, laughter erupted backstage, or Jolene discovered something unexpected inside an engine. Each twist felt real, almost unscripted, and hooks us deeper into their world. The audience wasn't just watching metal transform, it was witnessing two people pouring their souls into each build, living the story alongside every stripped arc and polished panel. Fans started to treat Bad Chad Customs like more than a show, they treated it like home. On Instagram and Facebook, fan art bloomed. Fan meetups took place at car shows across North America, and every episode announcement brought the comment section to life. One user posted, "This feels like watching friends rebuild dreams," capturing exactly what drew viewers in. That kind of emotional investment sounds ordinary, but it's rare, and powerful enough to form a movement. But as charm spread and expectations climbed, so did pressure. This was still a small production. Discovery's resources pale in comparison to giants like Gold Rush or Fast and Loud. It was that scrappy underdog energy, that authentic down-to-earth air that set this show apart, and also made it vulnerable. The simplicity that fans loved was exactly what threatened sustainability under corporate demands and tighter margins. Discovery greenlit Season 2 in early 2020, raising hopes and excitement. New episodes promised bigger builds, deeper storytelling, bigger dreams. But during filming, pandemic clouds gathered on the horizon. By March, the world shut down, and productions everywhere scrambled. Some pivoted, some halted, others vanished. Ampere Analysis reported that at least 60% of scripted TV worldwide was delayed, with reality and non-scripted shows hit hard by on-site restrictions. For Bad Chad Customs, built on close collaboration and gritty, hands-on action, this was a turning point. Chad's workshop, didn't lend itself to 6-foot distancing or remote filming. Cameras needed presence. Clutter had to be shared. Communication was shoulder to shoulder. And then the orders came. No contact, no crowded spaces, no filming on site. Suddenly, protocols meant thousands of dollars worth of delays and rewrites. Discovery implemented new safety guidelines. Mirrors on set became plexiglass, crew shrank, fewer build days, but costs ballooned and energy drained. Networks like Comedy Central and Netflix dropped scripted shows, even those mid-production, when budgets couldn't stretch to cover safety, and smaller series like Drunk History and Glow were cut entirely. Bad Chad. Customs didn't get the immunity bigger titles got. Soon, filming paused mid-build. Enthusiasts waiting on the next episode were met with silence, and the shop's doors closed more often than they opened. Chad posted a clip of an empty shop floor, welding gun resting on the rack, and said, "We'll be back." But hints of fatigue and uncertainty flickered through his eyes. Production costs soared, revenue streams slowed, and Discovery shifted focus to either lockdown-friendly content, like Josh Gates at Home specials, or reviving older franchises that didn't require physical sets. Networks across the world shelved half their unscripted schedules, repurposed existing content, and prioritized safe, verified programming. In that moment, Bad Chad Customs felt the squeeze. Viewers who once crowded live streams started to drift. Some complained Discovery churned through generic house flip content instead of supporting unique shows. One Redditor wrote, "Discovery's just replaying ghosts and flips. Where'd the charm go?" Nobody mentioned Chad by name, but the emptiness felt familiar to fans who knew something special had paused. What's often overlooked is how these abrupt cancellations rupture trust. Fans invest emotion, time, and money, only to see creators' work disappear without closure. That loss cuts deep, both personally and financially. For Chad and Jolene, this pause wasn't a minor hiccup. It was a crack that turned into a chasm. Their brand, built on authenticity, suddenly lacked the lifeblood of new projects. Merchandise, meetups, partnerships, they all slowed. The shop's revenue dropped as filming days faded. Yet hope remained. Charts showed viewership spikes as soon as any build clip was posted. Community posts rallied for a third season. But Discovery saw bigger financial risk ahead. Markets were contracting, streaming fatigue was growing, and the Warner Bros. Discovery merger had triggered budget write-downs of nearly $9 billion by mid-2024. Executives began scaling back investments on niche reality shows. Even popular paranormal and crime content wasn't safe. That's when the official announcement came. Bad Chad Customs was canceled. No big fanfare, just a short streamer announcement, buried under headlines of bigger shows being dropped due to COVID-related costs. To fans, that felt like a gut punch. Chad and Jolene released a heartfelt video saying this wasn't a creative choice. It was a financial one. They thanked fans, spoke of builds never finished, and held back tears. A world where they'd built cars in a loud shop, surrounded by friends and followers, was suddenly quiet. For them, and for the listeners who grew up watching their journey, it felt like losing a friend mid-journey. There was a time when Chad and Jolene poured every ounce of themselves into that shop. Every spark, every laugh, every grind inching closer to their shared dream. When the cancellation arrived, it didn't just put the show on pause, it felt like losing part of their identity and the tight-knit community they'd created over years. Before that final blow hit, the pandemic unleashed its ripple effects. Supply chains snarled, staffing shrank, and the uncertainty weighed heavily on small businesses everywhere. In the Hiltz workshop on Highway 358, the clanging and chatter faded. Their sanctuary turned quiet, scattered by shadows of doubt. You could almost feel the tension in the empty bays, the loneliness of turning passion into a ghost of itself. Once it was clear that masks, distancing, and travel restrictions were here to stay, off-site filming became impossible. What began as a pause turned into a full stop. They tried to pivot, filming small updates, short tutorials, glimpses into builds, hoping to keep fans engaged. But the truth was brutal. Without the show's backing, budget concerns and tightened network priorities spelled doom. And then, the final blow. Discovery quietly pulled the plug on Season 3. For Chad and Jolene, it wasn't just a career end. It was a heartbreak they carried with them. Yet heartbreak breeds resilience. Without cameras in the shop, they reimagined their platform. Social media became their new studio. What followed felt almost magical. Clips of metal shaping, wrench adjustments, candid laughter. These real-time glimpses resonated. Their YouTube channel and Facebook community ignited. Fans who'd longed for more builds responded with fervor. It wasn't the polish of TV, but it carried something richer. Raw authenticity. Direct connection with followers allowed Chad and Jolene to debut builds on their terms, not TV timelines. Monetization followed. Sponsorships, ads, custom merch. They pivoted from network dependency to owning their financial destiny. And just like that, this setback became a springboard, transforming Bad Chad Customs from a canceled show into a thriving digital brand. Their shop, once a local gem, became an international hub. Millions tuned in from across the globe, inspired by their bold DIY ethic and creative freedom. No longer bound by production schedules, they could chase passion projects, modern classics, impulsive restorations, special collaborations, with genuine enthusiasm, not network quotas. Still, that journey carried emotional complexity. The series' end hit hard. Fans posted heartbreaking forums, taglines like, "We lost our favorite show," echoing around the web. Many hoped for TV's return, but the digital model was the future. Chad and Jolene embraced it wholeheartedly, and the result was a new kind of legacy, one that wouldn't fade when broadcast slots ended. By early 2025, their digital presence was stronger than ever. Merchandise lines were selling, sponsorship deals lined up, and their revenue streams, YouTube ads, Patreon-like support, online workshops, grew steadily. They proved that a passion-born brand could pivot and thrive. What started as a tragic ending revealed itself as a transformation. Here's where the story becomes even more compelling. Chad Hiltz, once a small-town mechanic, has reshaped his financial narrative. Reports suggest he and Jolene now hold a combined net worth of around $3 million. Their lifestyle choices reflect that climb. Chad is said to own a collection of classic American muscle, think restored Camaros and Firebirds, alongside a modern dream machine. He's been spotted wearing high-end timepieces, signaling a shift from DIY grit to boutique luxury. While details on real estate remain scarce, insiders speculate they've invested locally, perhaps even eyeing a rural retrofit space to expand their shop. No private jet yet, but their sponsorship trajectory hints they could upgrade soon. Their business model has evolved too. Beyond builds, they're collaborating with aftermarket brands and parts manufacturers, occasionally co-designing limited edition accessories. That kind of ownership, brand equity turned into tangible assets, is something many creators only dream of. They've also invested in health and business insurance, learning hard lessons from the pandemic disruption, and shielding against future uncertainty. So, what can we draw from their journey? First, passion paired with adaptability creates resilience. Second, building direct-to-fan channels can transform vulnerability into strength. And third, thoughtful investment in lifestyle, brand, and protection can anchor your success for the long haul. As the sun sets over their rebuilt shop and the arc weld's final glow softens, one thing is clear. Endings are rarely what they seem. Sometimes they're invitations to start something truer, stronger, and more personally meaningful. Chad and Jolene's story reminds us how heritage builds, not always safe, not always clean, can become legacies that endure far beyond the camera's last frame. And in that ignition, in that spark of reinvention, lies a lesson for anyone chasing a dream in unpredictable times. But even with success roaring online, there were days when doubt still lingered. The kind of quiet that settles into your bones when the world around you changes faster than you can catch your breath. Chad, always the problem solver in the shop, had to now become the strategist behind a brand, and Jolene, his partner in life and work, carried the emotional weight of it all, becoming the glue that held their new digital world together. As the online empire grew, so did their ambitions. They began dreaming up a new workshop space. Something bigger, more versatile, and able to host workshops, live filming sessions, and maybe even a fan festival. Jolene hinted at it in a Q&A, describing a place where young mechanics could come learn, build, and find community. Not just a garage, a creative haven. That's the real twist in this story. What started as a small-town TV show grew into a global platform, yes. But more than that, it morphed into a movement. A reminder that passion, when nurtured and shared authentically, can bridge continents. That legacy isn't about what airs on TV. It's what people carry with them after the screen goes dark. And still, their past isn't forgotten. There's a photo hanging near Chad's workbench, one taken on the last day of filming. The team is smiling, covered in dust, surrounded by chrome and clutter. You can almost hear the laughter frozen in time. That moment reminds them why they started, why it still matters. As the world around them speeds up, with trends shifting, platforms evolving, and attention spans shrinking, Bad Chad Customs has remained remarkably constant. Not because it refuses change, but because it keeps its core intact. Grit, artistry, integrity, and above all, love for the craft, the audience, and the journey itself. In many ways, their evolution mirrors that of other resilient creators who found new ground when the old one collapsed. They took what could have been a career-ending chapter and rewrote it with fire and finesse. And that's the lesson here. Reinvention doesn't always mean letting go of who you were. Their brand didn't die, it evolved, and in doing so became an even more powerful testament to human creativity and tenacity. If their story moved you, share your favorite build in the comments, hit that like button, and subscribe for more untold chapters in the world of passion-fueled fame.